My name is James Reinhart. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the co-founder and CEO of thredUP.com. thredUP is the nation's leading online shop to buy and sell like new kids' clothing. From the very beginning, and I'll give you just a quick stat so that you have some context, is we launched the original business in 2010, in its current form 2012. We've raised more than $50 million in venture capital. Upfront Ventures led our last round. We've also raised money from Redpoint, Trinity Ventures, and Highland. We have 350 employees nationwide. 70 of those are in our San Francisco office. The other 280 are in San Leandro, which is just north of Oakland, and Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, which is just outside Harrisburg. And the mission has been to inspire a new generation of consumers to think secondhand first. And the founding story was I was getting dressed one morning to school, and I opened my closet to a closet full of clothes I didn't want to wear. And I thought it'd be just so cool if I could just get rid of all this stuff and put that towards getting new stuff. And I thought, well, what are my options? Well, I can sell it on eBay. That sounded like a lot of work. I could sell it on Craigslist. That sounded really sort of sketchy. I could take it on my bike to the local consignment store, which sounded sort of dangerous in the middle of winter in Cambridge. And it just occurred to me that I was probably not the only person that had this problem. And so for the next few weeks, everywhere I went, every man, woman, and child, I would ask them one question. I would say, what % of the clothes in your closet do you wear? And not a single person said more than 50%. And on average, that number was, I don't wear 70% of the things in my closet. And then I'd say, well, then what are you going to do with all that stuff? And they said, I don't know, I guess I'll just give it away because that's what I do. And I said, well, how's that going to make you feel? And it was just this moment where I thought, well, if I have this problem and all of you have this problem and we all have all this money in our closets, what's going on? Who's making all of the money? And it turns out this is big business. For those of you who are parents out there, you will recycle 1,800 items by the time your kid turns 18. As a father of 2 with a third on the way, 5,000 items, I'm like mind blown. Right? And the average person, you out there and myself, will recycle 60 pounds of apparel this year alone. Every year, the American consumer recycles 60 pounds worth of apparel. That's like 3 big garbage bags worth of stuff. And this isn't to get preachy or righteous and tell you that we should all run around naked, otherwise the planet's going to die. But it is to kind of make the point that there has got to be a better way. And so as a business school student at the time, I did what business school students do. I launched a marketplace. If we just connect buyers and sellers and we build highly liquid markets and we subsidize one side and we'll build this magical ecosystem that will allow everybody to transact, wouldn't that be amazing? And I actually raised $9 million against this idea. And lots of companies today are raising a bunch of money against it. But the reality is after acquiring a couple million users and seeing the experience and seeing the cohorts, it turns out this is actually not what people want. And so we dug in, we did a lot of detailed research. And that detailed research I want to walk you through today because I think it's very, very important to understand where we're coming from. So 2% of the people want to sell their own clothes. 1 out of 50 in this room. Then there's the rest of us. Right? The rest of us actually want to do what we do already, but make it a little bit better, which is we put stuff in a bag, we put stuff in a box, and we get rid of it. We don't know where it goes. Newsflash, only 20% of the things that you actually give away end up on anybody in the US. It all gets shipped overseas. And so we needed to build an experience at thredUP to figure out a way to improve the consumer experience, to deliver something that's more valuable. And so what we did is we put thredUP at the center of the ecosystem. We said, how could we get stuff out of people's closets in a really meaningful way, put that online in a way that could be compelling from an e-commerce perspective, and be the broker of record? Or today we call it end-to-end experiences or managed marketplaces. But back then back in 2012, it was we wanted to deliver a better consumer experience that people would love. And so that's what we did. And this is especially true for our target demographic, which is moms. We love moms. We love moms because we love the experience that they get. We love the feedback. They're intensely loyal. They talk to other moms. Not only are they shopping for their kids on thredUP, but they're shopping for themselves. And we think that as a cohort and as a group of users, moms are a great demographic. They're also the people for which they are more time constrained than ever. They are the ones making the choices for their family. And so if we could deliver an amazing experience on the sell side for moms, we would really be onto something. So we invented the thredUP bag. Lots of companies have since copied the thredUP bag, but back in 2011, this was pretty innovative, and I don't think the innovation is that we put a plastic bag together. I think the innovation is around the insight of how to make that bag work for the consumer. There are other players out there that try and tell you what to put in the bag, or that you should put handbags in here, or you should do this, or you should do that. I don't actually think that's the way the world works. I don't think that's how you want to be involved in this market. That's certainly not how our customers want to. They want us to send them a bag with a prepaid label on it. They want to put all their shit in it, and they want to leave it on the doorstep. Right? And you're laughing because that's what all of you do. Right? You put it in a bag or a box, and I joke that I think it takes 6 months from when you actually put stuff in a bag or a box till it actually gets to the place you were hoping it would go. And for thredUP, it was one bag to rule them all. And so our innovation was that you can take the thredUP bag and put everything in it. Your expensive handbags, your shoes, your kids' clothes, your ready-to-wear, all of that stuff goes in the bag. We take more than 25,000 brands. And because of the operations and the back-end system we've built a clothing arbitrage business that can make the best use of all of those things. And not only do you feel good about doing it because we send you positive feedback to let you know that your items ended up in the hands of new users, or we donated them to a specific charity that you cared about, not just this random drop-off box that you poured in. I think it's very important. And the reason why the bag is important is we want bags to be everywhere. And what you'll start to see this year is you'll start to see bags popping up in your e-commerce orders. You'll start to see them at your retailers, because what we have pioneered is a way for retailers to work with thredUP to make sure that you can do the right thing to do with all that stuff. And back to my notion about the 70% not being worn. I'm a hyper-rational economic guy. I don't think people rent their places on Airbnb because they care about other people. They rent them because they make a lot of money. And for me, as a business, as an entrepreneur, thredUP was that this closet of 70% not being worn, we actually value that stuff at like 0. It's like shit we gotta get rid of. In fact, I would argue that it's almost, it has a negative value, because there's actually a cognitive tax of walking in your closet and being like, hate that, don't want that, gotta get rid of that. And yeah, the women out there are laughing because they've lived this. And so the user value here is 0. But with thredUP, right, the ability for us to send you a bag and for you to do that in an effortless way, we can go around and take all that stuff, put it online, deliver a super compelling e-commerce experience, and create a lot of value. And the average woman who's sending us a few bags a year, we're creating $1,600 in like new value. And the reason why that matters to me is I think the way big businesses are built over time is they create value. They don't just move stuff around. They actually create a lot of value. And then that, I think, as an entrepreneur and as a business, that entitles you to capture some of that value. And so I think by the thredUP bag and the experience we've built, we're creating enormous value in the US. But to do all that, we have to have this amazing operation, right? If you imagine, oh my God, what do they do with all that stuff I put in the bag? I want to just give you a peek inside our distribution center in San Leandro, which is really kind of our tech innovation spot for distribution centers we'll open all over the country. I love that video. I joke with my wife that I want it to be like my ringtone when I wake up in the morning, just like it's getting me fired up. But I think at the end, what you saw is the woman, she was wrapping stuff in tissue paper and she was putting a little sticker on it, is for the buyers, we want to take all the stuff that we get from all over the country and deliver joy in a box. And I think that matters because as a brand that wants to inspire a new generation of consumers to think secondhand first, we need to deliver an amazing unboxing experience. And so while a lot of retailers are moving in the direction of shrink wrapping stuff and then putting it in another garbage bag and then sending it to your door, we actually have a beautiful brown box, and we wrap the stuff in tissue paper, and we put a little enjoy sticker on it, and we put hang tags on the items that say things like renewed with love in San Francisco or life is full of second chances. And it's these little touches that I think change the consumer perception such that, our bar is that when a customer gets a thredUP box, the idea of buying new is indistinguishable. The idea of buying like new is indistinguishable from buying new. I think we're only going where customers are already going. We're not trying to tell people to buy secondhand clothing. More than 20% of people in the US this year will visit a thrift or consignment store. More Americans will visit a thrift or consignment store this year than will visit a department or branded apparel store. More will go thrift consignment than they will department or branded apparel. And I think what we're trying to do is say, well, we can do that and deliver a superior experience online. That experience of digging through the racks, which people do already, we can do that better for you. The final piece is that if I zoom out for all of you and sort of put you in my brain for a 10-year vision, it's that if you remember, if you're old enough, there was a time when we bought used cars. Now we buy certified pre-owned cars. Dealers and manufacturers realized that they could make a lot more money and that there was enormous value to be captured if they went in and did a little bit more work. I was in my hotel room last night, I kid you not, it was like 10:30, and there was a Mercedes-Benz certified pre-owned TV commercial. Mercedes-Benz now running certified pre-owned commercials. The same thing has happened in electronics. We used to buy used phones. You can still buy used phones on eBay, and that's still a big business. But now they're refurbished. And even, I've been telling this story for years, and last fall Apple announced that they would do this whole refurbishment program. So now you have the #1 manufacturer of phones saying, we're going to be part of the solution on the used side. I think the same thing is going to happen in apparel. I think it's already starting to happen. But I think it's a huge, huge wave moving forward. And I think if our phones are any indication, because we're getting called by retailers and apparel makers regularly about how they can participate, I think you're going to see the same thing happen in apparel. And so, in conclusion, I think there are a few big forces that are converging that I think make thredUP a really compelling opportunity. The first is I think we've learned a lot about e-commerce businesses over the last 10 years. And what we've learned is that it's really easy to sell stuff on the internet. It's very hard to make money doing it. And what thredUP has invested enormous amounts of resources in is the distribution and operations such that we can take 25,000 brands, that we can deliver them in like new condition, and we can do it with a strong margin profile. The second is I think there are these generational change in consumption patterns that I don't think anybody would disagree with. I think the people who are staying in Airbnbs instead of Hiltons, using ride-sharing services instead of taking their own car, or renting stuff through any one of the various rental, sharing economy, collaborative economy marketplaces, I think this is changing. It's certainly true for people my age and younger, and I think it's a wave that will wash over every consumer business in America. And finally, that the apparel industry is getting involved. And they're starting to understand that they can either be part of the problem or part of the solution. And I think many of them see what's happened in a number of other industries and now recognize that they can actually create a lot of value for their customers, deliver superior experiences if they get involved in this market. And so that's what makes me super excited for the future of thredUP. I think we're not building a company that's a 1-year opportunity or a 3-year opportunity. We're attacking a $30 billion space in the US, a space that's growing 7% year over year. And I think that our mission to inspire a new generation of consumers to think secondhand first is not a 1-year or a 3-year plan. It's a 30 and 50-year plan. So thank you for your time. I'm around. I'm easy to find. I would love to talk to you if you care about what we care about. And hope you have a great day. Thanks.